If Sir Jim Ratcliffe, according to British media, is successful to take over Manchester United on 25% minority, we gotta ask the hard questions. Number one, what will life be under Sir Jim Ratcliffe's and Ineos ownership as for the global fan base experience? Number two, what will the football operation look like 3 years from now? Well, stick around, let's find out. Are you ready? Now welcome back to Mufc Realist TV. This is Miniroty here. We are the leading platform, at least when it comes to the GlazersOut movement, and providing you with over 130 videos scrutinizing both bidders and the Glazers full sale only, and also what's been reported in the media. Now it's coming to a report that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to take over 25% of minority investors. What we're going to do here is to divide this in 2 episodes where we're going to break down Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid and what life would be under this stewardship. Is it going to be better than the current establishment, or is it going to be worse? Let's stick around, let's find out. Welcome to the show, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video as it helps our algorithm, and also never to miss a video. Hit that bell button, ding ding ding, you know what I'm talking about. Let's get ready to rumble. Let's bring in Tom Jounalist to the stage together with Jarvis Cocker and Uncle Jimy. In the next episode will be me, myself, and Paul White and Tom Jounalist. Please enjoy the show.
So should we use that bridge to jump over to the Ratcliffe takeover saga? That's your cue, Tom. This is the topic in a way, talking about all the details. I'm not sure, it's just like in a way pure speculations at the moment, but Ratcliffe deal now set to be announced next week apparently. So how do we feel about it as a Man United fan? Will he be the savior or will he be the villain?
I mean, you've got, in a way, it's the hope that kills you, but he is the only hope that you have left now. That is it. Because the Glazer family, under this ownership, you're not winning. You're not winning anything. They could stay for another 10 years, they could pump another billion in, you're still not going to win. It's as simple as that. Because with the Glazer family in charge of the football club, nothing will ever change. You will still have the same structure in place. You will still have financial experts running football operations. And you will still have a dwindling, overpaid, overspent squad, which is just going to inflate over years and years, and it will let every single manager down before them. And really, if we can take anything from what today has told us with the Sir Bobby Charlton, with the funeral, it's not even about that one of them had to attend. You could have left a message. You could have made a club announcement on behalf of yourself as an ownership group. You could have made a video if you want to stay all the way over there for your own security. You could have paid some tribute in your own way to Sir Bobby Charlton, and you chose to do nothing. And that is the sort of people that we are run by. It's nothing to do with legacy. It's nothing to do with the history of this football club. It's all to do with the future growth and the money-making machine that is Manchester United. That's it, at the end of the day. And with the way that Ratcliffe is coming into this football club and into this situation, he's having to do it in a way that the Qataris weren't prepared to do. And that was keep the family involved in the football club. Because you can't offer somebody near enough to £6 billion and turn it down when that's what you wanted. You can't, or reportedly wanted anyway, is the asking price. You can't do that. At the end of the day, it's too much money to turn down for a person to do it if you want him to sell. So I think everybody got the clear message in the answer to the question of they just didn't want to sell the football club. They wanted to get a bit of money, they wanted investment in and to stay on for a couple more years probably until they get a bigger buyout later down the line. But with Ratcliffe and the sort of deal and everything, well, the word is that it will be likely to be announced next week, based upon the Sir Bobby Charlton memorial and tributes have been paid today. And it gives the lawyers, it gives the financial experts, and it gives really the football club the time to plan how they want to prepare this. It gives them the week to really put the engagement out there, set up the statement, the post, PR. There might even be, a message from Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe that they might need to prepare, that they might want to prepare rather. So there's a lot of different factors to play into, but in these next 7 days, it will be crunch time really to find out all of the details really, and then as it's been alluded to already, the Ratcliffe deal hasn't been signed, but the papers have been drawn up. You just need to sign over your figures. That's it. At the end of the day, and that can happen by simply just getting out a pen and signing a signature. So take a couple of seconds and sign, sealed, delivered. So at the end of the day, the papers haven't been signed regarding the whole 25% takeover for so much investment. Plus, he's going to put so much money into the football club straight away for infrastructure projects. But at the end of the day, it's not got what Manchester United fans wanted. We wanted the Glazer family to leave this football club, and they haven't. And you can look at it from two perspectives. They didn't want to sell, so Ratcliffe's took it upon himself to say, well, I'll come in and then I will buy you out later on. But he has burned the wrath of Manchester United fans by doing so. And at the end of the day, the one thing that we can say now from what his deal entails is he's paying so much money to buy 25%, but he wants the whole football operations, and which he's going to get as part of the deal. That's the deal. The Glazers keep the commercial side, and Ratcliffe will take over along with Ineos, the sporting and football operations at Manchester United. That's it. And at the end of the day, when you look at the basis of what we have right now as a structure, it's clearly not working. It's not built to win at the end of the day. And quite frankly, the sort of people that Ratcliffe has in his sort of portfolio to bring in, the likes of Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell doesn't sign to football clubs to make teams money. He signs to football clubs to win. He didn't go from Southampton to Spurs with Pochettino on a jolly up thinking, we're going to stay here 5 years and not win anything. They should have won something, that Spurs team, but they didn't. And he was a major benefactor of building that team to try and win something. But they didn't win, and they didn't get over the line. Jean-Claude Blanc, for example, the Ineos sports CEO, that they're looking at bringing in potentially to be the future CEO or chief executive on the board for Manchester United. He took Juventus from a mediocre Italian team and put them as the best Italy team and put them in big European football big time. And you can look at it even with Sir Dave Brailsford. I alluded to it earlier on Nuruddin's show on United Real Therapy when we were discussing about Sir Dave Brailsford. There's an hour-long YouTube video that you can go and search online. It's from a channel called Diary of a CEO. So Dave Brailsford has an episode on there. And if you want to know the sort of guy that will take over Manchester United in terms of the football operations, go and watch that video and you'll realise the sort of person that's coming to Manchester United. Because Sir Dave Brailsford, people associate him as being he's a cycling guy. He doesn't know football. He knows sports. And the one thing that you can tell from that video, if you watch it from minute 1 to the final minute, is he wants to win. He doesn't join big sporting ventures or projects without the objective of being winning. So at the end of the day, we have got people in here who is win commercially. No, you want to win sporting now. That's the difference. So with the 25%, it is what it is. He's coming in. He's going to take the football operations. But like Stu was saying before, you've got 18 months. Well, Man United fans, we will give Sir Jim Ratcliffe his time to do and implement what he needs to do. But if we turn back to this point and say this same stream in 18 months' time, and we're even further away from Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, even all the top teams in the football club pyramid that are going up right now, even Newcastle, Villa. If we're not in that pyramid with those football clubs in 18 months' time, then there's really going to be some mayhem in terms of the actual fan engagement with the club. And at the end of the day, the one thing that I think more testament to Ratcliffe for him to do, if he wants to get Manchester United fans on side, I don't want to hear words. I don't want to hear, we'll build a new stadium. I don't want to hear anything like that. We want some emotional connection with the Manchester United fans. The one thing that the Glazer family should have done whilst they've been the owners of, which they've never ever done, go and visit the Munich Air Tunnel and go and read the poem at Manchester United. If it's on the Memorial Day or if it's on your first day in office, go and read that poem. I don't care, make a big PR stunt out of it, do what you want. Because out of what we've seen with today, which is the Bobby Charlton's funeral, that's a tribute for you. That's a tribute. Yeah. So go and show the Manchester United fans why we should give you the time. Show us that you care. That's the one thing that we've never had, owners that care. So give Manchester United fans that belief that they can trust you when they haven't been able to trust the Glazer family. And again, following on from that, tell us what you want to do with this football club. What money are you putting in? What is your plan for the stadium? What is your plan for the men's team, women's team, Carrington, youth team, everything? Do you want to speak to fan supporters groups? Do you want to engage with, supporters on major decisions around the club? If you were to relocate from, Sir Matt Busby Way for Old Trafford and build a new stadium elsewhere in Manchester, are you going to communicate with fans? These are all the questions that we need to know. And the only way that you're ever going to know this, like we all alluded to a couple of weeks ago, was put him down with a non-biased interviewer who's not a football fan, who's just a business consultant or a business interviewer, talk finances and ask him what he wants to do with Manchester United. That's what we want. I don't want to see Wes Brown sat in a chair across from Sir Jim Ratcliffe asking him questions about Manchester United. Do it impartially and do it properly. And at the end of the day, if you tell Manchester United fans, not what they want to hear, but we just want a plan. We've never had a plan for 18 years under the Glazer family. Give us something, Sir Jim. And yeah, it's not all what we wanted because we're not getting rid of the causing root of the problem straight away in the Glazer family. But what else do we have now? We have nothing. So, and I'm not saying it for patently because either you get on board or you don't. It's as simple as that. But I'll give Sir Jim Ratcliffe his time, but we need to see results in 18 months, like Stu was saying.
Yeah. Very, very good points. I like what you saying about the takeover. We want some clarifications and a plan. That's what we need for us to move forward. We've been drifting around in the desert for 40 years now, and nothing is happening. I have a little thing I read today on Twitter with the Swedish Rumble. He put out a long tweet. Swedish Rumble, I like him a lot. He's very sensible. He talked about the NDAs and what the NDA, also non-disclosure agreement, what it means. And he told, in this article, he explained that there are two types of NDAs. You have NDAs and you have a CA, and that's just like a gentleman's agreement. And if they breach the deal, there's usually no precautions or usually no how does you say it?
Repercussions.
Repercussions if they breach the non-disclosure agreement. There's more like a gentleman's agreement.
So it's not legally binding. Yeah,
they can be legally binding. Usually, if you put usually with an NDA, and your Swedish guy is absolutely right. So's Tom Jenner. They're more like a gentleman's agreement, but you do sign them, etc. But they're not legally binding. But you can do legally binding NDAs when you're dealing with a purchase stake, for want of a better, of this magnitude. There will be some kind of repercussions if leaked, which is why everybody is just looking around and trying to grab what they can from the Twitter sphere or the atmosphere of data that floats around from country to country. Manchester United was always it's got eyes on it for anything. This has got the biggest eyes of the financial world on it straight away because it's a big thing. Everyone was talking about this. Is how pathetic, okay, the world is. People were talking about the Washington Commanders sale at $6.5 billion. well, the Glazers want to get more than that. They want to hold the world record for it. I mean, Jesus Christ, grow up, for Christ's sake. It doesn't work that way. But that's what journalists do. I mean, me and Tom are in the trade, so we both know. And we don't like it, do we, Tom?
Yeah.
Our industry can be a cesspit. It really can. It's horrible. But me and Tom both know, we've been around the industry for a long, long time. We're well educated enough to know that somebody will take the tiniest snippet, and if they can prove that very, very small snippet, then a story will blossom from that. And 9 out of 10 times, there's only a very, very small snippet that's correct. And that might be 2 words, Jarvis.
Yeah.
And then the rest is just bullshit. And that's what's happening. Now, I'm in a different type of journalist, as you know. I work superbikes and MotoGP. And we do, I do get to hear what goes on, within football, but not a great deal, not as much as, say, Tom does, or, Mick, for example. But I know journalism and I know what it means. And so the journalists are just fishing. There are some well-educated guys out there who will know to an extent what's going on, but nobody will 100% know what's going on, because you've got to lock yourself up with this type of deal, because if you don't, it just blow up in somebody's face, wouldn't it, Tom?
Yeah, it would do, yeah.
And if you read here, this is what I'm talking about. The confidentiality undertaking is a one-way commitment. So it's like that Ineos undertakes to not disclose information about the takeover, while Man United or the Glazers is free to communicate how they see it fit. So basically, it's not an NDA, because it's a confidential undertaking.
Yeah,
so
it's like
can communicate free.
Yeah.
In
the bidding process, when you had multiple parties that entered the firewall to look at the figures for United, that's when you need legally binding NDA agreements in place, because you could easily just have somebody who leaks the figures, who you could give it to anybody. You could give it to a Liverpool supporter, or if they're a billionaire, then they might take a sue just to leak Manchester United's figures. Who cares if you love that football club that much? That's sometimes how people work and people do things. But with the Ineos way, is because they had to use the NDAs in this process, the 2 big ones that we can rule in this case, in the Qataris and Ineos, both of them had to sign the NDA agreements, and they couldn't say anything, nothing. All they could literally say was if they bid it again, and that's it. They couldn't go specifics, details, nothing. And at the end of the day, they got to the point now where they're just in brief negotiations. Ineos still have to stick by the word, but the family can say what they want. They could say, if Sir Jim's, hesitant around Manchester United takeover, they could say these things about him if they wanted to. And there's nothing that Ratcliffe can come out and say, because if he breaches the agreement, he'll get sued. And put it this way, with how the Glazer family work, there'll be some clause or termination in there where, you can rake him through the mare for all his assets or whatever. There'll be something dodgy in there. We know how the Glazer family work, legally speaking, anyway. But at the end of the day, they bought the football club in a dodgy way. And really, if we're being honest with how the process fizzled out, really, from buying the football club from day one to, well, we're not even at the end yet, but when we get to the end, it's all loopy, it's all dodgy. And it really wouldn't surprise me at some point in time, there's going to be some story in maybe 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years' time that comes out and explains how this whole process actually was undertaken. Whether that be one of the family do an interview, or Ratcliffe, or whoever. Because as soon as Ratcliffe washes his hands of the Glazer family's ownership at United, he's free to say what he wants. He controls the asset. He's the owner. Then if he wants to say how the Glazer family really are, about, they never give a crap about Manchester United, and they never really cared about the fans, the supporters, but I'm different, blah, 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 and etc. He can say what he wants, free speech. But right now, he's got a gag around his mouth, because you can't say nothing. And the biggest thing that you can't say, especially in business, anywhere, even if you just go for a normal transactional deal, is you can't fluctuate numbers. You'll know that anyway, Jarvis, probably with your business, when you talk about discussing numbers and figures and everything. You've got to be very prohibitive in what you say and how you say it. Because if you mark in the wrong word, you could mean something completely different, but then you've meant something really direct. And in the same time, when they all entered the process, and there was the personal statements from both parties, and they said that, we want to make take Manchester United back to its former glories, and use Sir Jim Ratcliffe used the words "put Manchester back into Manchester United." As soon as they made those words in those statements, the family shut them down straight away and said, "Look, if you're going to go away with this terminology and speak this ill-manneredly about us, we'll just remove you from the process." So then, from that point onward, they never made statements, did they? They never said anything publicly. And it's not for the want of that they couldn't have. They'd just been told not to. And at the end of the day, like we're saying now with the whole legal loophole of it, at the end of the day, everybody in this case, apart from Manchester United fans, is a winner. Ratcliffe's a winner. He has a way to try and buy the club in a couple of years. The Glazers are happy because they get to stay. And ultimately, it leaves Manchester United fans carrying the can of £800 million worth of debt once again. So what's really changed? Nothing at this moment in time. But until we know the manifesto, we've got nothing to look forward to, guys. That's the problem.
The other thing, Tom.
There's no hope.
The other thing, Tom. No, you're absolutely right. The other thing, Tom, is we don't know who shares.
Hold your thought a little bit, Stewie. I just want to say hi to Uncle Jimmy because
hi, Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah, big up, Jimmy. Yeah, you had a late stream, or what happened?
Yeah, no, that was good. It was a long stream because obviously we haven't streamed for about a month, so it was quite a long one. We were touching 2 hours, which we never really do. We try and stick to about an hour and a half. So, but no, we just touched on all points United at the moment, mainly obviously ownership and the manager and just the football at the moment.
Fantastic. You can come in after Stu comments and just join the discussion. I think you will catch up pretty soon.
I'll be very brief because all I was going to suggest is and ask is exactly how many shares are we buying from the Glazers, or is it some of the Glazers and is it some of the shareholders that won out? Because we do know there's still the potential for non-Glazer shareholders to push legal action against the Glazers. So we know that's still on the table. Okay. And that's just standard business. If I'm a hedge fund and I'm not getting the share price that I deem because the Glazers are playing fools for whatever, then I'm going to go and I'm going to sue, the Glazers for this. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the makeup of this 25% is. Glazer shares have been reclassified, by the way, because you've got to reclassify some of the Glazer shares from Class A to Class B. So if he's only, because as far as I know, Tom, and you might be able to tell me this, they're selling Class A shares only, but he's going to need Class B shares because they come with the voting stock, or they have 10 times the value of Class A shares. So they're going to need that. Now, we all know that conversion of any share takes a couple of months, 3 months. It's a long time. You just don't turn a share over in 24 hours. It takes a long time to convert that. So that's something else we need to know. And whose Class B shares have been sold? Which of the siblings, all the siblings, some of the siblings, this is one hell of a complicated deal. It really is.
Very
right. And by the way, Tom's absolutely right. We're damned if we do, damned if we don't with this deal. I'm sure Uncle Jimmy feels the same on it. But the complication, the complexity of me, you, or anyone else dishing out 1.25 bill or 1.5 bill for 25% of a club is ridiculous. I mean, it's a farce in business terms. It really is, unless you've got that 5-year plan, and it's likely to be done over a 5-year period of buying the club and ousting the Glazers. So it kind of goes back to what Tom was saying. Before anything happens, you need a statement of intent from Sir Jim or whoever it is to come in and say, this is what we're doing, this is why we've done it this way, and this is the timeline of how it's going to be done. Now, I don't like it. I don't like it. For me, it doesn't make sense if you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe. To me, it doesn't. But the guy's a serial businessman. He's one of the best negotiators you'll ever come across. He really is. He knows his stuff. He spent $1.5 billion 8 months ago through Ineos and some fracking rights in America. He knows what he's doing, this guy. He knows how to negotiate a deal. So what's the overall cost of the club going to be? They ain't going to be 6 billion. I can tell you that for nothing. They're going to want, they're going to want 8, aren't they, Tom? Because of the residual growth that's going to happen over the next 3, 4, or 5 years.
The way that he's gone about it, Stu, is he's paying more, but he's getting less for his money.
Agreed.
But the way that he looks at it, Ratcliffe and Ineos, is he's overpaid for 25%, but he's getting the benefit of he's going to be in control of the football operations.
Yeah.
That's where he sees the more value to buying and overpaying for 25%. But again, like you were saying, Stu, if he goes over this 5-year plan, we need to see the trajectory of it. Give us a timeline, because at the end of the day, if you're going to sit us there in limbo and we're not going to know when you're going to buy them out, if you're going to buy them out, or should you even ever buy them out, like, we need to know what's actually going on with our football club as fans. And at the end of the day, if you're not prepared to communicate on what the future is for our football club, well, then you're no different to the people that you're going to be sitting next to, or as many people phrase it as, getting into bed with. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there is no trajectory. There is no hope at United right now. Because right now, guys, we don't have a plan. What is the plan? Under the Glazer family, the plan's never been to win the Premier League. It's never been to win the Champions League. We don't have a plan. But we need to see, and we need to know what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plan is for this football club, whether it's at 25% or 69%. Give us a plan and tell us what's actually going on with our football club.
Yeah.
Because if you're not prepared to do so, you shouldn't buy this football club, because your legacy, your name, your business, everything will be dragged through the mud, just like the Glazer family have done for 18 years. And at the age that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's at, I don't think you're really wanting that at your age, mate. Going on to nearly, 70, 75 or whatever he is. I think he's at 70 years old now. Going on to the age that you're at, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, live your life to the fullest while you've still got a life to live. Because it's very, very short in the timeline that we have. So at the end of the day, give us a plan, give us a project. And if you like, maybe try and get some of the Manchester United fans back that you've lost along the way with the way that you've gone through buying and actually acquiring this 25%. But anyway, I'll hand the baton over to Jimy so he can get his 2 pence in. Go on, Jimy boy.
I mean, I agree with everything everyone's saying. I mean, it's I think for me that I'll start by saying, in terms of not knowing what's happening with the club, I think you find if Sir Jim gets the control that we're led to believe he's going to get in terms of the football side, you find that he's going to be a lot more vocal generally than the Glazers are. So I think you find more releases from the club generally, because I think he is going to try and play on this relationship that he believes is going to be able to build with the fans because of his background being a Manchester guy. So I think he's going to play on that, and I think that's going to lead to, it's going to force his hand in communicating with us a lot more than the Glazers have ever communicated with us. I think that's my belief. But secondary to that, I have a lot of hope, just because you were talking about Sir Jim being a top negotiator. This guy is a serial business guy. He's not stupid. This is a person who started a company that was virtually started this company from absolutely nothing. And if you look at the way that he's built the company, the way he's gone and acquired all these businesses to integrate into his business, to make it this empire that it is, for a British person, because a lot of those kind of businesses are normally operated by Americans. Let's be fair. It's not very normal for a British person to start an organization from the ground and build it to the level that he's built his business. It's not very normal for British people to do that. So, he's not a stupid guy. So I don't believe that he would be spending over £1 billion to put into this club and not have the impact that he thinks he needs to have in order to actually have his name being attached to whatever legacy he thinks he wants to build at this club. I think he's there's lots of assurances in terms of how much power he's actually going to have on the football operation, because a lot of people have said, oh yes, we've heard he's going to run the football operation, but we know Joe Glazer's still going to have to sign the checks off. We know that every additional million here is going to have to go through the finance department. So if all those ways of operating are still going on, then he's not in charge of the football operation. So I believe that he's having the right conversations, and he's going to have enough control on the football side to actually have an impact on the club, which will bring success, which for me is his then long-term plan to actually start trying to acquire the club in full. So my hope is that he is as clever as we think he is, and he's going to have the right control because of how clever he is in terms of how he structured the deal of him acquiring that 25% and actually going to make a difference in total for the football club, especially for us as football fans, for the football itself. So, I've got high hopes for it, and that might be because we haven't got any other options. So, I have to have hopes.
It's an interesting point you make, Uncle Jimmy, because I agree with you. He knows what he's doing, but therein lies the problem I see of splitting the two elements of Manchester United apart, and that's the footballing operations and the commercial operations. So do they then recreate a new holding company? So not Manchester United Red Football, or they keep Manchester United the Red Group or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. And then underneath that umbrella, you have Manchester United Commercial and Manchester United Football as two almost separate businesses, but operating as one. Because if Sir Jim takes full control over the footballing side, who funds that? Yeah. Because you made a great point, right, Jimmy? A brilliant point about does Joel Glazer have to sign the checks? If that's the case, then you're right. There's a 0 point in Sir Jim having control of the football side if he's still going to go and knock on Joel Glazer's door and say, oh, by the way, we need to do this. But if Sir Jim Ratcliffe funds the football inside himself, either through his own personal wealth or Ineos wealth, then has got to surely see a split between the commercial operations and the footballing operations.
Yeah,
I would say. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah. At the end of the day, he's got to split out his assets or his money, really. The problem with Ratcliffe is because he only has 25%, he's limited to what he can do. Why would you build a new stadium basically for somebody? You be the financier, but you've only got 25%. Because there's no guarantees unless he has it signed, sealed and delivered in a contract that I have to buy you out for X price at X day. Unless it's in the contracts and it's in the actual legally binding stuff, then what do you exactly have in Sir Jim Ratcliffe's case to say, well, I can buy you out? There's no guarantees unless you have it in written. But the problem where it is, as Max point here, where is his money coming from? No manager shareholder can invest private funding into United. Yeah, exactly. And the difference is, for the $300 million that he's putting in right now, that's his own money for anybody that wants to know. But where will that $300 million actually go towards the infrastructure of United? I'll be very honest with you, it won't even touch the sides. The sort of production figures that you need, it won't touch the sides. You won't even be able to do a tier, a stand. It might fix the leaky roofs. That's about it. And maybe stop, urinal going in the toilets. That's about it. But apart from these sort of plumbing and roofing scaling problems, that's all that's going to do. But unless and until the date that he actually finds control, or we know when he will eventually buy the rest of the club from them. For example, if he put a timestamp on it of 2025, for example, and they're gone, right, well, then United fans from that point on will say, right, well, we know what period you're going to buy them out. What do you plan to do with the football club after? Because you have 2 years then to plan what you want to do with this football club. Because in 2 years, you can plan what you're going to do with the stadium, what you're going to do with the training facilities, What are you going to do with the men's team, women's team? How much investment do you think they need? You have the time really then to prepare, analyze, and plan. And until we actually know, like we say, the dates of these sort of points around when he will buy them out eventually, if he's going to buy them out at all, because at the end of the day, we don't know the contracts. That's the problem. And with the way that it's all been manifested and the whole process has actually fizzled out, it wouldn't surprise me if you don't find out for weeks or months, really. Because at the end of the day, you're just going to devalue the asset that you're actually trying to acquire. In Ratcliffe's case, that's brilliant business, but the Glazer family are going to look at it as, well, if we bring this guy in and he takes football operations and he does a really, really good job on the footballing side, if the football's good, the commercial side will be good. Ascertain, we make more money. And suddenly, like me, Stu, and Uncle Jimmy were just saying before, the value of United goes from 6 to 8 straight away. You win a Premier League title, you might as well add another $1 billion onto United's valuation already. That's how the Glazer family will look at this. Unless, like we was just saying, he has it penned in at a price and a date. I'll buy you out by that date. But again, we don't know that date, unfortunately, people. But
we don't
until
know.
we
don't know all
that,
the details, Tom.
we don't know.
But I just want to add, Alien Tenno, Peter comes in with a super chat here. We just have to address it. He says this will be just more depth for Man United, 100%.
I'll go on to Ineos, and Ineos holds debt anyway, so that's the only good thing. Eventually it will go on to Ineos, and Ineos holds debt anyway. Look, any business holds debt for cash flow reasons. That's why they do it, so they've got access to cash flow. Because as Tom will tell you, and Uncle Jimmy will tell you, and you know, Jarvis, when you look at the full asset sheet of your business, that isn't what cash is in the bank. It's your assets as a whole. It's what buildings you own. It's what stock you own.
Inventory
and everything. And so even Apple run debt on a cash flow basis. They have a short-term debt approach and a long-term debt approach. Ineos will do the same. You know, we haven't got to worry about debt at Manchester United. I know it sounds ridiculous. It sounds stupid, but you don't have to do it because you're not dealing with your own personal bank account where you look at it and think, bollocks, I've just dropped into my overdraft.
That's where the phrase "put it on the company credit card" comes from.
Exactly
for anybody in the UK that knows that phrase. But like you were just saying there, Stu, anyway, even if it doesn't happen where he takes the money and puts it onto Ineos's books, just let the club run sufficiently. You can pay that debt down within 3 years. United make enough money to do it. And look, even if you make more money over the next couple of years, might pay it off even sooner than you think. And then, like we say, guys, and like we discussed before, if United are debt-free, it's just as worrying to have a debt-free Manchester United as it is a nation state owning a football club. Because the only club in really the Premier League that has the revenues to compete with these super giant football clubs owned by nation states is Manchester United. That's the only club that on a financial scale can compete with them, and that's just because the brand and the name is that big and that loud that it can blow nation states to compete against them. But we don't currently have that sufficient model because, as Stu was saying, the debt is still there, but it will probably eventually be moved at some point in time. But right now, when he only owns 25%,
he won't move it. No.
He's not the decision maker because that's a commercial decision, not a football decision. So he's not in control of that. That's where the problem will lie in terms of he can't touch certain things until he then eventually buys up enough shares so he controls the club ahead of them rather than vice versa.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
I just want to address one comment first. I just want to see here. George Best says, "Can someone rewatch this and count how many times the word 'if' has been used?" we have to use "if" because it's just the way it is. We don't know any details, but we will just try to speculate and I will give the word to Jimmy and he can give his speculations.
Yes, I was just saying, you know, for me, the debt doesn't. It's not a big thing for me. You know, it's, you know, they pay off the interest. The debt can sit on. You know, it doesn't. It bothers me sometimes, but a lot of the times I'm not really that bothered about it. But I think it is. A lot of people were concerned that Ineos haven't even given any indication as to what they are going to do about the debt. So I think that people are interested. People, you know, because a lot of people look at debt as fans. We look at this debt and we think, oh, there's debt on the club, and it's like, yeah, they pay off the interest. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It can sit there for years. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. I know sometimes it affects how we structure deals when we're buying players and stuff, and I know that can affect it, but overall, really, it's not that important. The debt can sit there as long as the interest being paid or whatever. But I think they should have given a snippet of what their plan is with the debt, because I think it's just another thing that puts fans' minds at ease about your ownership of the club, because you know people. So to some fans, this debt is really important. It's a big thing. It's a talking point. So I think they should have given some indication as to whether they are, you know, how they are going to address the debt on the club, and whether they would be looking to pay it off or they would be looking to let it sit there and, like I said, and just not allow it to affect how they structure deals. So I think they should have said something. So that was a little bit concerned.
Just to address Salient Turner, he's having a pop at us saying that that we're suggesting that Ineos will take the debt. You need to listen to what we're saying. We didn't say that. We said eventually, as the business gets purchased, someone has got to transfer the debt. It's still an irrelevance. It's an absolute irrelevance that the debt is, unfortunately. But whether people like it or not, debt doesn't affect the day-to-day running of the business. Because Tom will tell you, you know this. And Jarvis will tell you as well, and everyone in the chat will tell you, the bank would have foreclosed on it. If they were not bothered about the debt, they'd have foreclosed on it years ago. They don't care. Yeah. They know the value, as Tom says, of Manchester United as a football club. So you really can forget about the debt. It just doesn't matter.
But didn't the banks they wanted their money back by 2025, Santander or something I read? You know, Tom.
Go and refinance it somewhere. Manchester United can go and refinance anywhere at any time, you know. And if Santander were that desperate for it, which they probably won't, and I've read that as well, but who knows what will happen? You know, if the banks, all the banks will do is hold their nerve, because they're holding on to a gold mine, a gem, and they know this.
I think we have covered what we have to say about this takeover. We don't have any facts yet, so it's just pure speculations, but it's interesting to see what's going to happen.
Exactly, Jarvis. It's a lot of speculations and nobody really knows. Only the Glazers have the answer. I'm afraid this is the end of this first part 1 series of the Breaking Down Jim Ratcliffe's bit. But please stick around, hit that notification button. Let us know in the comment section below what you think. Do you agree what the boys are saying here, or do you have another alternative view? Guys, this has been MUFC Realist TV. See you all to the next video. Stay united and be beautiful. Bye for now.
That's all, folks.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching MUFC Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.